Donald Trump is going to Valdosta, Georgia, to finally bring help to the devastated Hurricane Helene victims who have been there since last week. Not just in Georgia, but Hurricane Helene has devastated parts of Florida, parts of South Carolina. North Carolina is, they say, of biblical proportions is the devastation. And of course, Eastern Tennessee, because Western North Carolina, Eastern Tennessee, they're right there connected, although the roads are closed. Asheville, North Carolina. Check this out. This is a news report from Asheville, North Carolina. If you have not yet seen or heard what is going on there, it's unbelievable.
Tonight, an unfolding catastrophe in Asheville, North Carolina. Homes and buildings swept away by raging floodwaters that have submerged the town.
It's beyond anything I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Parts of the town not underwater, completely cut off.
Somebody on a Facebook post said something about having to fly out of Asheville because you can't drive out of Asheville.
That extreme.
Yeah.
With no power and no cell service, crowds formed outside this hotel, one of the only places in town with working Wi-Fi.
We've been just trying to get on as much as we can and either get an email or a text out and just let everybody know that we're okay.
We met up with Cindy Tran, her forever home, a self-described oasis, ravaged by the cresting French Broad River nearby.
The water came up so quick, halfway up to the second floor. We thought the way it just kept rising so fast, it was going to get to the second floor, so we had to get out.
A similar scene in the town of Chimney Rock, virtually wiped off the map by floodwaters.
Chimney Rock's gone. Flowering Bridge is gone.
Meanwhile, the heavy rains triggering a massive mudslide that washed out this stretch of I-40, a major highway connecting western and eastern parts of the state.
Let me talk about that a little bit. So my neighbor who lives next door, we were chit-chatting yesterday because over the weekend we both went out. I went to my backyard. I started cleaning out the debris. There were branches that fell down, nowhere near. I mean, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying there were branches. Someone had to clean them, and it's my job. And we were cleaning out the branches, and I said to him, I go, "How are you guys doing?" He goes, "Well, we're fine, but my daughter's not. Her whole house got destroyed." And I thought, "Where's your daughter?" He said, "In Boone, North Carolina." And what happened to her was the mudslides, because when you think, and this is the weirdest thing ever, you think about hurricane damage in Florida all the time. You think about Louisiana, of course, Katrina, and even Texas, you get them. You think about the coastal Carolina. Wilmington is always hit. Charleston is always a target for these hurricanes. But you never think the Appalachian Mountain Range in western North Carolina. You never think eastern Tennessee. But the amount of rainfall and the flooding and the overflowing of the rivers and the dams that were I mean, I still think are compromised. And it may still not be safe to be there, but the mudslides came down. She walked out of her house and she saw water raging down the side of the mountain. She lived in the valley, got out of there. When she came back, mud had buried her house, had buried her car, 6 feet of mud. And everything was just lost, devastated. I have a good friend, my good friend from high school, who's in Hendersonville, North Carolina, which is very close to Boone and Asheville and everywhere else. Haven't been able to get in touch with her. I hope everything's okay. I don't know if it's that there's no cell service, which there isn't. I don't know if it's that the phone lines are down, that they don't have power, which they don't have any of that. They don't even have roads, as you heard there. You have to be airlifted out. There's a TikTok video that somebody posted from inside their home. And I thought to myself, why would you still be inside your home? But for a lot of people, they have no choice. They're trapped. Look at this. This is the door opening, and you can hear the water raging, and it's just muddy water all around the house, 360, but not just muddy water. It's like rapids. I mean, it's quick moving water, and you have to imagine all this mud is eroding away the soil, and it's taking away the foundations of these homes. And you're sitting in your house, you have no place to go, you see the water all around, you see the mud, and you're thinking to yourself, please God, don't let my house get washed away. Please God, don't let this house collapse around me, because I have no place else to go. People can't move. The Biltmore estates and Biltmore villages, finally the water has receded. And people are starting to see the devastation that was caused again. The cars up against the trees, buildings just demolished. Every single restaurant. I mean, this was a huge consumer and it's a huge tourist area. So they had, as you can see, they've got like everything. They've got a First Watch there. They've got the Moe's Southwest Grill. They've got the Asaka, which is the Asian restaurant, all destroyed. It'd be like going to wherever your Think about your town. Think about where you live. There's some main thoroughfare. There's some big mall where all the chain restaurants are, where people hustle and bustle. Your Starbucks is there, or maybe, you know, your favorite, I don't know, your McDonald's, your Taco Bell, Wendy's, and now they're all gone. Entire towns are gone. And that's the commerce center. That's where all the people work. That's where all the money's made. And it is truly just devastating, and it's horrible to see. And it is so weird, again, to steal a line from Kamala Harris, that it happened where it happened. That a hurricane, and we're talking about hurricane damage in the mountains of North Carolina, in the mountains of Tennessee, in Valdosta, Georgia. These are not the kinds of places where you typically see these kinds of natural disasters, but that's what happens when you have heavy rain pouring down very quickly in all of these areas. And the floodwaters just take it all away. Kamala Harris mentioned briefly the hurricane victims while she was in Las Vegas, Nevada, Sin City, trying to get that money. Kamala Harris, she got to get that money. She got to get that money. She needs money, honey. And so she's out campaigning out. Look, Nevada is an important state. It's one of the swing states. It's one of the few states where I guess she thinks she still has a chance, because Pennsylvania is just slipping through her fingers. Pennsylvania's probably gone. Michigan's probably gone. We've got insider video of Representative What's-Her-Name saying that Michigan is bad news for Kamala Harris. And if she loses Pennsylvania and Michigan, man, she's got a tough road to hoe. She's got a tough road to the White House. And so Nevada is very important. Plus, they got all the money. So she was there in rally formation. And here's what she had to say about the hurricane victims.
Before I begin, I want to say a few words about Hurricane Helene. And please have a seat if you're able. I want to talk about Hurricane Helene for a moment. And I know that everyone here sends their thoughts and prayers for the folks who have been so devastated by that hurricane and the ensuing events in Florida, in Georgia, the Carolinas, and other impacted states. And we know that so many have been impacted, some have died. But I want to thank everyone for doing everything you can to think about them, send them your thoughts, send them your prayers. I want to thank the first responders who have done so much. And we will stand with these communities for as long as it takes to make sure that they are able to recover and rebuild.
Yeah. We're going to stand with these communities as long. Oh, wait, my phone. I can hear that. I can hear Kamala coming out of stereo speakers. We're going to stand with these communities as long as it takes for them to rebuild. But what we're not going to do is send them more resources to rebuild. We thank everybody who gave them help, but we ourselves are not going to give them any more help. And that's not me talking. That's Joe Biden talking. That's Joe Biden, President of the United States, who was cornered at the airport. And Joe Biden was asked, are there any more resources going out to these hurricane victims? And he said, and I quote, no. That's the direct quote. It's not funny. It's not funny. That's Joe Biden. Keep in mind, because a lot of people don't remember this, Joe Biden is currently the President of the United States. Joe Biden is the President of the United States through next January. The election comes up November 5th. Inauguration day is January 20th. That's how long we're stuck with Joe Biden. So if a national disaster ensues, as Kamala Harris says, if that happens, Joe Biden's the guy calling the shots. Joe Biden's the guy doling out the relief. Joe Biden's the guy on the phone with FEMA. Joe Biden's the guy trying to rally the governors together and say, hey, guys, what are we going to do? What do you need? How do we help? And in this particular instance, Joe Biden, the President of the United States, is the guy who, while leaving for vacation, says there's no more relief.
We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Oh, no, there's no more reason. Listen, I mean, it's crazy to, number one, think that as President of the United States. It's even crazier still to verbalize it to a reporter who's taping you. There's hundreds of thousands of Americans who are without power, who are without clean water, who have no way of escaping the flood damaged and flood ravaged areas where they live. They have no cell phone service. Their cars are gone. Their jobs are gone. Their schools are gone. Over 100 now, we believe, lost their lives. The hospitals have no clean drinking water. The hospitals have no way to sterilize their equipment. Why? No electricity. There's people still stranded that we don't even know about. There are cars. I mean, this is what you have to think about. There are cars buried in mud. There are people that are missing. There are, God knows how many lives lost in this thing, and we may never know. But what we do know is that they need help. And when asked, Joe Biden says, no, there's no more resources. We've given everything we have. Really? Have we? Have we given everything that we have? Have we? He said we pre-planned for everything and there's nothing more.
We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
We pre-planned a significant amount. And now it's all gone. So there's nothing more we can give. This is odd because just 2-3 days prior to that, President Vladimir Zelensky from Ukraine was in town, and guess what he got? He got a whole bunch of money. He got a whole bunch of aid. He got billions. What, 16 billion? I think it was for Vladimir Zelensky. We should probably hold some of that back and say, whoa, hey, Vlad, listen, we've got Americans dying. We've got Americans who need to rebuild this country. We've got Americans who need to rebuild their homes and their businesses and their schools. We've got Americans who are hurting. We need to rebuild roads here. We were just invaded by a hurricane. So you're going to have to be on your own for a little while. We've got to take care of things at home. That's not happening. Vladimir Zelensky still gets his money. Vladimir Zelensky gets his money. The illegal immigrants who are being flown into places like Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora, Colorado, and New York City, they all are still getting their money. They're still living in the Roosevelt Hotel in New York City. They're still getting 3 squares a day. They're still getting room and board paid for. I mean, the Roosevelt Hotel, I want you to know this. The Roosevelt Hotel is not a charity. What is happening there is that the federal government has purchased every room. They're paying the Roosevelt Hotel. They're booked up solid. And these immigrants are staying there, courtesy of you and me. Our tax dollars going to help them. Our tax dollars going to help Ukraine. Our tax dollars not helping our American friends in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Tennessee. Because Joe Biden says, no, there's no more. We had all these resources pre-planned and we got nothing more. We got nothing more. Donald Trump says that's not right. Donald Trump, who was president before, and I believe will be president again very shortly, Donald Trump says that's wrong. These are Americans. They need our help. Donald Trump has suspended his campaign. Kamala Harris, I believe, is still out west. She's in Las Vegas. I think she's going to Los Angeles. She's got to go back to Cali to get some money because she's failing everywhere else. She's got to go back to California and get a gold rush going. She's got to try to hold all these really expensive fundraisers so that she can get some cash and then blow this cash on TV and radio commercials that are not going to move the needle, because it doesn't matter how many times you hear Kamala Harris insult Donald Trump on television or insult Donald Trump on the radio. It doesn't matter how many social media ads pop up with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz saying, change, turn the page, we're not going back. Doesn't matter. People look at their bank accounts. They look at the grocery store. They look at the gas that they're pumping into their tanks. They look at the crime on their streets. They look at the drugs. They look at the fentanyl. They look at the homelessness. They look at the disrespect that our police officers are getting. They look at all this stuff, and they know that Kamala Harris is not the future. She's the past, and a pretty dark past at that. So Donald Trump he's like, forget campaigning. Forget the presidency. This is more important. We've got to go get these people some help. So where's he going? he's going to the scene of the crime.
On behalf of President Trump and our campaign, we want to express our thoughts and our prayers to all those across the country who have been affected. Yesterday, we went to Erie, Pennsylvania, and the president made a point on the plane there to say we need to address this at the top of our speech, and he did that. And today, he said, let's adjust the schedule. I want to go to Georgia. I want to see my people. I want to see what's happening down there and how we can help. So he'll receive a briefing today in Georgia. We're leaving in just a few hours from here in New York. And I'd add, he's going down there to tour the devastation before Kamala Harris, before Joe Biden. And yesterday, Joe Biden was asked what more can be done. And he said, nothing. We've given them all they can have. That's absurd. There's 2 million people in North Carolina without power. People are dying for food, for water. They are desperate. We've given billions and billions of dollars to Ukraine, and there's nothing else we can do for American citizens who are struggling, no fault of their own. Such a lack of leadership from the White House right now, but President Trump is showing real leadership today.
Today, tomorrow, pretty much every time he wakes up and does something, it's a show of real leadership. The humanitarian effort is important. It really is important. It is the true mark of a leader to go to where the crisis is. And Donald Trump's done it before. He did it in East Palestine. In East Palestine, Ohio, when there was a big tanker explosion, when they lit it on fire and the gaseous fumes went up into the sky and started killing all the animals around them, and people were breathing it in, and Joe Biden refused to go. Joe Biden kept saying, yeah, I'll get around to it. Never actually went. Pete Buttigieg went in his place. Donald Trump was there, and he brought clean drinking water, and he brought MAGA hats, and he bought people food, and he shook hands, and he just let them know, hey, you know what? It's going to be all right. I mean, not anytime soon, because Joe Biden's still the president of the United States, but it eventually will be all right. And I'm here, and I understand, and I want you to help me help this country. Help me help you. Put me back into office, put me back into the White House, and we'll get there. And the people of East Palestine, Ohio, have not forgotten Donald Trump. Nobody in Ohio has forgotten Donald Trump, but they know he's a real leader because he showed up. Joe Biden did not show up. Kamala Harris is not showing up. Kamala Harris is campaigning. Donald Trump is going to Georgia today at 2 o'clock. He's going to have some remarks. We'll bring them to you live because that's what real leaders do. But the humanitarian effort aside, Kamala Harris, I don't know who's advising her or if anyone's advising her or if the people who are advising her actually want her to be president, because this is eerily similar to another devastating hurricane called Hurricane Sandy. And Hurricane Sandy hit just weeks, I believe it was October or something or other. It was weeks before the presidential election. And Barack Obama, who was then president and was running against Mitt Romney and had a devastating debate. Barack Obama walked off of the debate stage with Mitt Romney, and he looked defeated. He looked demoralized. He looked like he didn't want to be the president anymore. The polls were not in his favor. People were saying Mitt Romney seems like he's more up to the task. And then Hurricane Sandy blew through. It went all the way up the coast, came right into the Wildwood, New Jersey area where the boardwalk is, just destroyed the boardwalk, Long Beach Island, all of those places. And Chris Christie, who was then the Republican governor of New Jersey, met with Barack Obama. I don't even remember this, but he met with Barack Obama there he is, on the, which by the, I'll remind you, I have a funny story about this too. But Chris Christie met with Barack Obama on the boardwalk, and they had this moment and this embrace, and Chris Christie said all of these wonderful things about Barack Obama, and then Barack Obama just strolled right back on into the White House. And he won in Barack Obama fashion. And a lot of folks attribute it to his response to the hurricane and him going to the hurricane-ravaged area in New England and embracing Chris Christie the way that he did. And on a funny side note, I do remember, it was the Daily Mail, I think, or it may have been the New York Post. I think it was the Daily Mail. Somebody posted this photo. This is horrible. Somebody but also really funny. Somebody posted this photo of Barack Obama and Chris Christie, and the headline they wrote over it was "Thick and Thin," which I thought was thick and thin. I wonder if I can find that. I'm going to find that somewhere. Hang on. Give me 2 seconds. Thick and thin Obama, because it's just two. I think that's what it was. Who was it? It was. Yeah, it was. Oh, was it the Daily News? No, I don't know. We'll find it. Hey, you know what? I'll find it. I'll find it at a later date and I'll share it with you. But that was exactly what happened. And, Kamala Harris, because she's running for president, should take the opportunity to go and help these people in Georgia, in North Carolina, in Tennessee, in all of these states that she's trying to win. Also, B, she's vice president of the United States, so it would be nice if at least one of our elected leaders in the White House showed up for folks. And then C, as a human being, it is the right thing to do because these people are totally devastated. Their lives are totally ruined. Their businesses, their homes, their cars, their memories, their schools, everything is gone and it's not coming back. At least it's not coming back anytime soon. And for at least 100 souls that we know of, they're not coming back either. Donald Trump is going to Georgia. Kamala Harris, I don't know where she got to go get that money. She got to go. So she's going to probably hang out on the West Coast. JD Vance from Ohio, speaking of which, who, by the way, was in East Palestine, Ohio, every single day. He was there. He was getting water samples. He was walking around in the muck. He was making videos. He was showing everybody the devastation. He was fighting for the people of Ohio, as a senator should do. A senator should fight for the people from their state. That's what senators do. And man, JD Vance was everywhere. You know who I haven't seen, by the way? Donald Trump's going to Valdosta, Georgia. You know who I haven't seen on TV at all? Raphael Warnock, or the other guy. What's his name? John Ossoff. I haven't seen either of them. Where is Raphael Warnock? Dr. Raphael Warnock. Where's John Ossoff? Where are the senators from Georgia? You know what happened yesterday in Georgia? Very simple. Speaking of East Palestine, there was in Conyers, Georgia, as if Georgia hasn't had enough. Georgia had a rough weekend. There was a hurricane that devastated Valdosta. They lost to Alabama for the third time in like 4 years. And then there was an explosion at a chemical plant. Look at this. This is reminiscent of East Palestine. This is all chemicals. It's all fumes. It's all burning chemical, gaseous, nauseous, horrible, deadly fumes going into the skies there in Georgia. And I've seen nobody say anything about it except that they've closed off a lot of the roadways. They've closed off part of the county. But this is another. First of all, how these things keep happening. I mean, that's a story for another day. But Georgia's had a really rough weekend. I haven't seen any of their elected officials anywhere. Donald Trump's going to be there a little later on today. But JD Vance said something about the United States of America and our misappropriation of funds.
American resources and American compassion have to go first to American citizens. And we have to build our country up to a strong place. And that's what allows us to be helpful and compassionate towards other people. Right now, our country is disintegrating from the inside. I mean,
that is very similar to what Oprah Winfrey would always say. And I hate to bring up Oprah Winfrey, but she used to be right about stuff. Hang on one second. She used to be right about stuff. Oprah Winfrey used to say, you have to take care of yourself first. If you have kids, if you have a wife, if you have a husband, it doesn't matter. You've got to take care of yourself first. It's not being selfish. It's being selfish, actually, to put other people first. If you spend all your time worrying about your kids or anybody else, and you're neglecting your own body, you're neglecting your own health, mental, physical, or otherwise. If you're doing that, if you're too busy concerned about your kids' grades, or if you're too busy concerned about, your friends and what their needs are, if you're just giving and giving and giving and you're not taking and taking and taking, then you're making yourself weaker. You're making yourself unhealthy, and you're making yourself more tired, and you're making yourself less productive and useful. And when you become less productive and useful, you actually can't help any of those other people. And the United States of America is exactly the same way. We have a lot of people here. We have a lot of people here who are talented. We have a lot of people here who can help other people, but we need to make sure that we are helping ourselves first. We need to make sure that we are helping our citizens first. And we're not. And this hurricane, this devastation that we see throughout the Southeast is just another example of that. I mean, it's an opportunity for Kamala Harris to really take charge. It's an opportunity for Kamala Harris to really show the leadership that she's striving for. But all it shows is that Kamala Harris is maybe not the brightest bulb in the hallway. All it shows is that maybe Kamala Harris isn't getting the best guidance, or doesn't really want to do the job, or doesn't know how. Or, like Donald Trump said over the weekend, maybe she has cognitive problems. Donald Trump was out rallying. He was out in Wisconsin. He was out all over the place this weekend. And he said something that I thought was hilarious. I'm going to be honest with you. I watch a lot of comedians. I tell a lot of jokes myself. I pretend that I'm a stand-up comic every now and then, whenever I go out to do a speech. For example, I have a couple of speaking gigs coming up later this month. I'm going to go speak to a men's club here in Jacksonville. I'm going out across the river, and I'm speaking to the Republican Men's Club of Clay County later on this month. I got a lot of speaking gigs coming up, and I always come at them like a comedian. You know, and some people, they look at things a different way. Tucker Carlson, for example, when he does his tour, he comes from a different place. And I'll get into that in just a little while. But I'm always coming from it as a comedian. I believe Donald Trump does the same thing, because he throws these jokes in there which are just poignant, they are accurate, and then also just flat out hilarious.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way.
How long until he gets sued by Lady Gaga? How long until Lady Gaga sends him a cease and desist for saying she was born that way?
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way.
And he didn't just do it once. He repeated it the very next day.
Crooked Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Sad. But lying Kamala Harris, honestly, I believe she was born that way. There's something wrong with Kamala. And I just don't know what it is, but there is definitely something missing. And you know what? Everybody knows it.
And you know what? Of course, the media, they look at this, what he said, they look at what he said in his rally, and they go, oh, Donald Trump is being mean again. Donald Trump is being dark. Donald Trump's attacking people again. Donald Trump is calling people stupid. Donald Trump is ramping up. Donald Trump must be nervous about the polls. There's nothing in the polls, by the way, to make Donald Trump nervous. In fact, the opposite is true. So why is he being a bully again? You know, why? In fact, they asked him about it. He was stopped by a reporter who asked why. Why, Donald Trump? Why are you so mean? Here's what he said.
I insult her intelligence.
Well, I have to do that. Well, I don't think she's a very bright person. I do feel that. I mean, I think that's right. I think I am a very bright person. And a lot of people say that. I don't think she's a very bright person. And you know what? Our country needs a very smart person. And I don't think she's a very smart person. So I'm not looking to, I don't consider that an insult. That's just a fact.
It's not an insult. It's a fact. Kamala Harris has cognitive problems. That's not an insult. That's a fact. Kamala Harris was born dumb. That's not an insult. That's a fact. Look, when you're running to be president of the United States, you need to be vetted. And if the media is not going to vet, in fact, the media is doing the opposite of vetting Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. The media is protecting them. The media knows what's wrong with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. The media knows that Kamala Harris is not an effective leader. They know that she's not anything she claims to be. They know that she wasn't even really born in a middle-class family. They know that when she was a prosecutor, she sent black men to prison for small amounts of marijuana, and now she's trying to fight against that. They know that Kamala Harris is against fracking, even though she claims she's a big fracking fan. They know that Kamala Harris has been lying about everything. They know that Kamala Harris, as the border czar, did absolutely nothing. They know about Tim Walz and his checkered past. They know about his horrible voting record. They know about his weirdness. They know about the way he locked down people in Minneapolis, Minnesota, how he inflamed the George Floyd riots. They know how he shot at his own constituents with paintball guns when they were hanging out on their front porches during COVID. They know all that stuff. They know what a horrible leader Tim Walz is, but they're not vetting him and they're not vetting her. They are protecting. They are hiding the truth from the rest of us because those are their chosen candidates. And they've sworn a blood oath to the Democrat Party. They've sworn a blood oath to socialism. They've sworn a blood oath to the lunatics on the left that they will use the powers that were given to them by the FCC to do whatever it is they can to help them get reelected. Kamala, I guess, elected in a new role, and Tim Walz elected for the first time. But they know. But the truth is that Kamala is not an effective leader. She's not a good prosecutor. She's not somebody who takes this job seriously. She's not somebody who could run our military. She's not somebody that other world leaders respect. She may be, as Donald Trump said, cognitively, she's not smart. Donald Trump's smart. At least a lot of people say he's bright. I mean, we'll have to take him. We'll have to take him at his word. And he says, look, Kamala Harris, she's had her opportunity. She's had her chance, and she's failed miserably. And that's why she's got to go.
That's why 5 weeks from now, we are going to tell her, Kamala, you've done a horrible job as vice president. You are the worst border czar in the history of the world, not just our country. We have to make a change. Kamala, you are horrible. Kamala, you're fired. You're fired. Get out of here. Get out of here, Kamala. Go back to San Francisco, Kamala, which you destroyed. Which, by the way, you destroyed.
That's another final dig. Go back to San Francisco, which you destroyed, by the way. Which you destroyed San Francisco, but go back there. Go back. We don't want you. We don't want you here. Go back to San Francisco where you belong. And that's basically the Donald Trump's not going to apologize. He's not going to apologize for doing the job that the media should have done, but is not doing, that they refuse to do. The media is supposed to let everybody know the truth about Kamala Harris, and they're not. So Donald Trump is taking it upon himself to do so. And what he did brilliantly, by the way, is trick the media into reporting the truth. And that reporter who asked that question is proof positive that Donald Trump controls the media and not the other way around. Listen, we're going to get to the debate because the debate is tomorrow night. And it's the final debate, I imagine, of this president. Look, Donald Trump's not going to debate Kamala Harris anymore. Kamala Harris does not want to debate Donald Trump. She may think she wants to debate Donald Trump. They may be telling her, she may be telling you that, but she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to debate Donald Trump. But we're going to get to that here in just a minute because I was on a call this morning with Jason Miller and Tom Emmer and a bunch of other people from the Trump campaign, and we were discussing the vice presidential debate. And we were asking questions, and I got the insider scoop, and I took notes somewhere. Here, VP debate. Look, there's my notes right there. So I'm going to go through all of the, look, I took another page. Here's another page. And I took 2 pages of notes. I took them in different notebooks, though. I don't know why that was. I should have probably condensed them all. I think I ran out of paper. It doesn't matter. But we'll get you all those notes here in just a minute. But first, I'm very excited today for a couple of reasons because I've been working on something for a few months. I've been writing another book, which I completed weeks ago. But as I mentioned over and over again, I just didn't have the opportunity to put together the delivery system because, again, what happens is when you're working on your own, you have projects, you have things you want to do, you have things you want to accomplish, and writing the book was step one. Then you had to come up with the marketing and the delivery and make sure that everybody could get it and access it. Then I wanted to record an audiobook and all this other great stuff. Well, it's finally done. It's completed. It's up. It's ready to go. And today, I'm launching it to the public. Everybody who's been looking forward to this, everybody who's wanted it, everybody who's like, Mark Kaye, when are you going to write another book? Mark Kaye, when are you going to tell us, what's going on with this new book? Mark Kaye, when are you going to share the stories about getting canceled from the radio, from TV, from social media? What can we expect next? Well, I'll tell you what you can expect next. In fact, I'll tell you what you can get right now. And it is my new book, which is called Cancel Proof. My proven social media strategy for conservatives to thrive online. And you're probably asking yourself, Mark Kaye, this is great. Where can I get it? It's easy. You go to markkaye.com/cancel. markkaye.com/cancel. And let me show you real quick what happens when you get there. This is the website that we created. Again, it took us a little bit of time, but look, Travis M. just got a copy. Fantastic. Travis M. just got Cancel Proof out there in Jacksonville. Thanks, Travis. We appreciate it. Look, this is it. My secret strategy to keep conservatives from getting canceled online. Now, this is part biographical. This is a book about, my trials and tribulations, getting demonetized on Facebook and on other platforms, getting kicked off of LinkedIn for crying out loud, getting fired from the radio just for being a conservative. All of these things that have happened to me that I've learned from and that I've come back from, and that, yeah, sure, there are times that are tough, but there's so many great lessons to be learned. And as a conservative, it's possible. It's possible to live and work and survive and actually thrive online if you know how. And I've been lucky enough to learn how. The hard way. I learned it the hard way, but I learned trial by fire. You know, people talk about street smarts. I have social media smarts, because as a conservative on social media, as a conservative on the internet, man, it is tough. It is tough out there. So this is the new book, and this is where I tell you all about it. And you can get instant access. The other thing I decided to do with this book was make it all digital, because, and I'll tell you why I did that. Couple reasons. Number one, I wanted to get this out quickly. I know a lot of people read digitally now. I know a lot of people are impatient. And I wanted to figure out a way to avoid some of the pitfalls that come with traditional publishing. One of them is the plethora of emails I get from people saying, "Where's my order? Well, I ordered this book a month. Where is it?" Another, people sending me photographs of their books that are bent or broken in half with tire tread over it, because God knows what's going on at the U.S. Postal Service. God knows how they're getting these. I've had people send me books that had liquid spilled on them and like cuts in the wrapping. I've had people write to me and say, "I believe somebody read this book, put it back in the package." These things get delivered to the wrong house. It's just, I wanted to avoid all of that. So digital delivery, it cuts all that out. You can actually be reading Cancel Proof within the next couple of minutes. Also, I recorded an audio book, and an audio version rather, and I wanted to put them together so that you could get them both at the same time. And so digital delivery was the best way to do it. And for $24, you can get both of these. You can get both the ebook and you can get the audiobook. So you can read it, or you can just listen to me read it. And you can go through, this is the 3-part strategy that I've learned on how to protect my business from online censorship. And look, I'll be honest with you. If you are a conservative, and you may not be a conservative podcaster like I am, or a conservative talk show host or any of that, you may sell cookies. You may be a plumber. You may be a roofer. It doesn't matter. If you're conservative, you are at risk. And if you advertise online or talk online, or if your business is online at all, then you are at risk. And there are ways to protect yourself from having everything you've built and worked for and struggled for and put together shut down by some cancel-happy woke folk in Silicon Valley or in Washington, D.C. or anywhere else. These are things that you need to know about, especially if you're a conservative. You don't have to be a loudmouth conservative like I am, but just know conservatives are under attack, and they're being hunted, and they're being canceled. And it happened to President Trump. It happened to Tucker Carlson. It happened to me. If it can happen to President Trump, if it can happen to Tucker Carlson, if it can happen to us, it can happen to you too. And that's why I want you to get this book and enjoy it and read it and learn from it. It's called Cancel, but you can go to markkay.com/cancel. If you're watching the video on YouTube or Rumble or anywhere else, I've put the link in the description of this video, so you can go get it. Download the audiobook and the ebook. It comes together as a bundle, and then let me know what you think, because I'm really excited for you to hear. I'm really excited rather for me to hear your thoughts on this latest topic. All right, so here we go. Let's get back to the debate. The debate, ladies and gentlemen, is tomorrow night. And tomorrow night at 9 o'clock on CBS, JD Vance and Tim Walz are going to be debating in what is the final head-to-head battle of the 2024 presidential contest. This is it. There will be no other debate. There will be no Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris round 2. Donald Trump, first of all, he's debated more than anyone else this year. He debated Joe Biden. He debated Joe Biden so well, Joe Biden had to jump out of the race, or was thrown out of the race. And when Joe Biden was thrown out of the race, Kamala Harris jumped on in, or was pushed in. And now what you see is Donald Trump has debated twice against 2 different people, and Kamala Harris is begging for another debate. Oh, come on, we've only had 1 debate. No, Donald Trump's had 2. And he offered you 3, and you only accepted 1. She wants to go back on CNN. She wants to avoid Fox News like the plague. She wants to go to where there's friendly fire. She went to the most liberal network, ABC News, and she debated Donald Trump with the most liberal moderators, David Muir and Lindsay what's-her-name. And as a result, they did all of the fact-checking for her. They did all of the debating for her. They coddled her, and they attacked Donald Trump. And it was exactly what she wanted, and now she wants to go back for more, but she wants to use CNN because ABC probably, it's like they're one and done. Donald Trump will never step foot on ABC or an ABC soundstage ever again. So this debate is going to be on CBS. It's going to be with Norah O'Donnell and what's her name, Margaret Brennan, and they are going to be moderating the debate between JD Vance and Tim Walz. Now, Caroline Levitt was on, I think it was Fox and Friends, and she was discussing this debate and how excited everyone in the Donald Trump campaign and everyone on the right really is to see JD Vance take down Tim Walz.
We are so excited about JD being on that stage tomorrow night. He's well prepared. He's done more than 100 interviews since becoming the vice presidential nominee. Sharp contrast to Tim Walz, who has done one major network sit down when Kamala Harris was by his side, and it was with CNN. So it wasn't necessarily hard hitting. So the senator is prepared, and it's a big night for Governor Walz. He's going to have to answer for Kamala Harris's dangerously liberal record, all the way dating back to her time as a district attorney from San Francisco. JD is prepared on all of the terrible decisions that Kamala Harris has made throughout her entire career. And Tim Walz has to grapple with trying to explain why Kamala Harris is not responsible for the crises of the last 4 years, which we know she is, while also answering the question, if you want to do all this for the country, why hasn't she done it right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, and hopefully they'll start with that. Donald Trump ended with that, but I want JD Vance to start with that. I want JD Vance to start with, hey, while Tim Walz is telling you all of this great stuff that they're going to do, while Tim Walz is lying to you about all this stuff that he plans to accomplish with Kamala Harris, while that's going on, you need to remember that Kamala Harris has been there for 3 years and she ain't done none of it. She done nothing. She got a big goose egg for her record. The border's wide open. She was the border czar. The economy's through the roof. She's talking about how she's going to lower prices by going after price gougers, which aren't even a thing. They aren't even. She admitted price gouge. There's very few companies that price gouge, and her subordinates and her mouthpieces and her surrogates, they can't even tell you one company that she would go after for price gouging at the moment, because price gouging isn't actually the problem. It's inflation, and it's Bidenomics. But that's their story, and they're sticking to it. And so Tim Walz has to go out there, and he's got to try to explain to people that Kamala Harris is the future. And even CNN is saying that's going to be tough.
Even last week, I was in New York at a fundraiser that Tim Walz was doing at an apartment there. And he said, after I left the room, I heard he said to someone who asked, how's debate prep going? He said, look, I was trained as a teacher. As a teacher, we're trained to answer the questions. We tell our students to answer the questions. That's not what this is. So Walz really trying to fit himself into this somewhat awkward always thing of a nationally televised debate.
So CNN is saying Tim Walz is going to be awkward, and he just wants to remind everybody he's just some down-home teacher / football coach, and he's just going to go in there and do his best. He's just going to try to answer the questions, but that's not what debates are all about. So we'll see how it goes. He's downplaying it. He's downplaying it. When I was on this call this morning with Jason Miller from the Trump campaign and Representative Tom Emmer from Minnesota, we were going through everything that happens, and they said very clearly, they said, look, do not be shocked when Tim Walz comes out looking good in this debate. Tim Walz is an experienced debater. Tim Walz is a skilled debater, and Tim Walz knows how to turn things on and off. For example, the thing with Tim Walz is he's often been called a chameleon, which is another word for big fat liar. A chameleon is someone who lies. They tell you one thing that you want to hear, and then they turn around and they tell someone else something else that they want to hear. And there's various different examples. He's the kind of guy that says, I'm a gun owner. I'm a hunter. He'll put on his camouflage Harris Waltz hat and the safety orange, and he'll walk out there and he'll pretend to be a hunter, and then he'll turn around and say, but we're taking your guns away. We're going to come into your house. You don't need 30 rounds of ammo in one magazine. You don't need any of that. You don't need that AR-15. But I'm a hunter. I'm a hunter. If you were a hunter, you would know that you probably need more than that. But that's what he is. He's a chameleon, AKA big fat liar. And so he's going to come out there and he's going to lie. In fact, that was the one thing. Here, let me read you these notes. That's what Jason Miller said. Tim Walz is good in debates. He won't be crazy. He won't be woo, yay. He won't be flamboyant jazz hands, spirit fingers Tim Walz that we've seen on Saturday Night Live skits and coming off of airplanes and walking into rallies. He's not going to be the loud mouth, with the big goofy grin. He's not going to be the guy wearing the t-shirt and the hat at the town hall meeting or going to the state fair to eat pork chops or whatever it is. Whatever he's a fried pork chops for breakfast. I don't know I forget what he had, something like that. His wife had 2. She was double fisting the pork. If you remember, Gwen had 2 pork chops. Tim only had the 1. Although I believe she had 2 so that he could actually eat 3. That's what I was thinking. I was like, he's probably like, I want 3. She's like, well, I'll get 2. I'll say they're mine. Yada yada yada. But anyway, he's a skilled debater. He's a chameleon. He can get on that debate stage and act like a politician. And that's one of the problems. But the one thing we need to be ready for is for him to lie. And I don't know what the moderator's going to be like. I don't know what Norah O'Donnell is going to do in this situation. I don't know what Margaret Brennan is going to do in this situation. I don't know if they're both going to come out and fact check him the way David Muir fact checked Donald Trump. I don't know if they're going to say, I'm sorry, Governor, that's actually a lie. Inflation has never been this high. I'm sorry, Governor, that's actually a lie. You did not carry a gun into battle. I'm sorry, Governor, all these things that you're saying, that's not actually true. I don't know if they're going to say that at all. I don't know if they're going to hold his feet to the fire. I don't know if they're going to call him out on any of the things he says that could be complete and total BS. I would imagine they're not going to. They're going to save all of that. They're going to save all of that for JD Vance. But that's what we're expecting. And the Trump campaign is expecting it too. They're saying this is not going to be, JD Vance is going to do great. JD Vance hopefully will mop the floor with him. But you're going to see a very different Tim Walz than you have before. It's a different Tim Walz than we saw on CNN sitting next to Kamala Harris being her emotional support VP candidate. It's going to be a very different Tim Walz than we see on stage. It's going to be debate Tim Walz, and it's going to be something interesting. We will be live, by the way. I'm going to carry this. I figured, it's the last debate of the election season. It may be the last primetime event that we have. So I'm going to come. It's 9 o'clock Eastern time, 8 o'clock Central time. So what I'll probably do is I'll fire up the old podcast studio about 8:30 p.m. Eastern. And that'll give us about 30 minutes to ramp it up. That'll be 30 minutes for us to, get our groove going. And then at 9 o'clock, we'll live stream the debate and here's the thing. If they're not going to fact check Tim Walz live, I will be happy to pick up the mantle and do that. I will be happy. I'll be more than happy to pick up the reins and say, all right, I'll be your freaking fact checker. If you fact checkers aren't going to check any facts, frack. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So 8:30 tomorrow, you can watch me and we can all hang out again. We can have a blast. It's going to be a lot of fun. That'll be on YouTube and Rumble and probably Facebook and X and wherever we don't get canceled from. But that's what they're planning for tomorrow. Now, the other thing is, and Tom Emmer, who's representative. Now, Tom Emmer, he said something which is really interesting. And this is something that I think people forget. Because they talk about Governor Walz all the time. But Tom Emmer, who's the majority whip, he's from Minnesota's 6th district, he knows Tim Walz, not just as Governor Walz, but as Congressman Walz. Because don't forget, he served in the House of Representatives, and he had a horrible track record there. He had a horrible voting record in the House. He had such a bad voting record in the House that his constituents kicked him out. And when he ran for governor, when Tim Walz ran for governor, he lost his own district by 10 points. Now, that's something that I think you should bear in mind. That's something I believe JD Vance will bring up. That's something that people need to know. Because all we know now is that Tim Walz is this weird, creepy, bizarro, kind of feminine-looking, tampon-loving governor from Minnesota who dipped out on his platoon and then claimed stolen valor when it was politically acceptable and helpful for him to do. That's all we know about Governor Tim Walz. But Tom Emmer and a bunch of people in Minnesota, they've known him for a very long time, and they remember Representative Mike Walz. And the people in his district, the people that were closest to him, his friends, his neighbors, his fellow teachers at the high school, the college football players, the dudes who had to walk into the bathroom for tampons, all of those people, they, when it came time to elect him governor, said, nah, we good. We good. We had enough of that guy. When it came time to vote for governor, they looked at Tim Walz, their own friend and neighbor and community and former congressman, and they said, probably not him. We're going to vote somewhere else. by 10 points. And that's something that people need to remember. That's something that needs to be brought up. And I'm pretty sure it will be brought up by JD Vance multiple times tomorrow during the debate. Again, we'll be live at 8:30 Eastern for that. I hope you join us. Real quick, let's get to Kamala Harris here for just a minute. Let me take a sip of my coffee. That is delicious. Let me take a sip of my coffee, and we're going to talk about Kamala Harris here for just a minute, because when I went to the Tucker Carlson event over the weekend, which was, by the way, if you weren't in one of the 15 cities where Tucker Carlson had his tour, I apologize. You missed out on something amazing. If you were in one of the 15 cities and you weren't able to procure a ticket, I apologize again, because this was an incredible event. And one of the cool things that Tucker Carlson did was every time he went to a different city, whether it was Phoenix or New York, or I think he went to Miami, or West Palm, wherever he was, he would bring on a different guest, which is that's what you do on a show. When he had his show, he would have different guests. When you do a podcast, you bring on different guests. And so he would bring on different guests. And I don't know if it was God smiling on us here in Jacksonville, Florida. I don't know if it was luck of the draw. I don't know what it was. But the guest he decided to bring on for the final night in Jacksonville, Florida, was Donald Trump Jr. And man, if you have never been in a stadium with 15,000 MAGA-loving, Donald Trump supporting patriots watching Tucker Carlson and Don Jr. talk for an hour and a half, you haven't lived. It was an incredible, and I'm not saying this to rub it in. I'm just saying it so that you know that there's a lot of people out there just like you, and that there is a movement. There is a he used the best word. He called it a revival. And in fact, let me tell you, there was a lot of amazing stuff that happened. The event had a lot of sponsors. One of them was Moms for America. And Moms for America is an organization that was founded by these women. There's one woman, and then her friend came in, and they have a podcast, and they go around, and they sponsored Tucker Carlson's event because they say, moms, we're voting for our kids. Moms protect their kids. They're mama bears. They want to make sure that this country remains the amazing place that it is for their children. I mean, we all do. I'm protecting this. Look, I'm turning 50 in less than a month. I'm coming up to the hill. I'm going to be going down this way. I'm not doing this every single day for me. I'm doing it for my kids and my grandkids who I've yet to meet. All these, and the Moms for America are the same way. They're like, it's our job. It's our responsibility to give this country to our kids in a place that is better than the way we found it. And right now we're failing at that. So they sponsored this tour, and they came out, and this one woman said, she said, my friends and who don't understand, or my friends who aren't conservative, they look at me and they say, how could you vote for Donald Trump? How could you vote for somebody like that to be president? And she said the most amazing thing. She said, we're not looking for a savior. We have one of those. She goes, I'm not looking for a husband. I already have one of those. What this country needs is not a friend, not a savior. What this country needs is a bodyguard. And you want a bodyguard to be tough. You want somebody who you can feel protected by. You want somebody who is going to keep you safe. And that is Donald Trump. And that's why Kamala Harris is going to lose, because people want to be safe. And Kamala Harris does not make them feel safe. The Moms for America know what they know. This country needs a president is not your friend. A president is not your date. A president is not someone you're bringing home to your parents. Although if you brought Donald Trump home to some people's parents, they'd flip out. A president is a bodyguard of the republic. A president is a bodyguard of the United States of America. His job is to stand in front of our enemies and say, oh, hell no, you don't. You're not coming after my people. You're not coming after this country. You're going to stand down. You're going to go away. You're going to leave us alone, or you are going to deal with me. And that bodyguard needs to be big enough, strong enough, tough enough, intimidating enough, and believable enough to make those threats go away. That is not Kamala Harris. That is Donald Trump. CBS, in fact, they did a report, and they spoke to a black woman who said, I'm voting for Donald Trump because I don't feel safe.
I'm voting for Donald Trump in 2024.
Abagrin says she felt safer when Trump was president.
The city is ran by Democrats. The county is ran by Democrats. And they have done nothing to stop the crime.
Yeah, they've done that. In fact, they've exacerbated the crime. They've let the criminals out of prison. They've let the criminals into this country from abroad. They've said, hey, Venezuela, El Salvador, you guys got any criminals you're not using? Great, bring them on up. We'll send planes. And we'll fly them right into Springfield, Ohio. We'll fly them right into Aurora, Colorado. We'll fly them all over the country. You won't even know where these criminals are going, but they'll be there. And they'll be raping and shooting and killing and drug dealing because that's what criminals do. Come on. I know you guys got some day. Are you giving us all your criminals? We want all of them. Anyway, so back to the Tucker Carlson event. So she's standing there saying, we need a bodyguard. And I was sitting there thinking, fracking A, we do. That's the best way to talk. So if you ever run into, if you're a mom or a dad, or if you have a crazy lunatic lefty in your family or in your friend group, just tell them, look, President of the United States is not somebody who you're inviting to a slumber party. It's not somebody who you want to babysit your kids. It's somebody who you want to protect you from evil. And Tucker Carlson used that phrase a lot. It is evil. It is not Democrat versus Republican. It is good versus evil. There are evil people out there. They're evil people, and they're running for president, and they want to destroy this country, and they want to destroy everything you know about this country and your life and God and religion and your body. They want you to think that men can become women and men can become pregnant and women can become men and all this other stuff that we know is just goes against everything it's just nonsensical. And they want to promote it, and they want to make you think that it's realistic because they're evil people. And Tucker Carlson said all this stuff and said, look, the reason we're here is two reasons. Number one, because you get censored online. If you talk about anything, you get censored online, which, by the way, learn how to not get censored online. Download my new book, Cancel Proof. But the second thing he said was, this is not something we could have done any other time. He pointed to the audience. He goes, look, there's 15,000 of us in this room tonight talking about politics. This is not a rock concert. You can't fill a room. You couldn't 10 years ago. You could not fill a room with 15,000 people to talk about politics on a Saturday night. It wouldn't happen. Anybody who says, hey, I'm going to try to fill ViStar Veterans Memorial Arena in Jacksonville, Florida on a Saturday night, the night after Hootie and the Blowfish, Collective Soul, and Edwin McCain performed, which I went to that as well. I was really busy. I had a busy weekend. But you have a rock concert with three bands who were very popular in the 90s and the early 2000s. You have a rock concert with three bands. You can sell out 15,000 tickets on a Friday night, but you couldn't 10 years ago sell out 15,000 seats anywhere to watch a couple dudes talk about politics. But now you can. The reason I can sit here every single day yelling into a microphone for hours on end, the reason I can put videos on YouTube and Rumble, the reason we can have a podcast on Spotify and iTunes that thousands and thousands of people download every day, that thousands and thousands of people listen to, that people are subscribing to. Our YouTube channel has grown by thousands of subscribers every week, which, by the way, if you have not yet subscribed, now's a great time. Now's a great time to hit that button. If you're on Rumble, you got to follow us. You got to hit the thumbs up. You have to share this, because this is the opportunity we have because of what's going on in our country, because of the evil that is attacking us, because of the evil that is presenting all of these challenges, because of the choices we now have between good versus evil. You're seeing a revival, and it's happening in places you never thought it would happen. It's happening with people you never thought it would happen with. Everybody is waking up. Everybody is seeing the truth. Everybody wants to talk about it. Everybody wants to get involved. And those 15,000 people, they weren't just there to see Tucker Carlson and Don Jr. They weren't just there for that. They were there for the United States of America, because the threat is real, and they're seeking answers, and they're looking for a bodyguard. And when people feel the same anxiety, when people are searching for the same answers, when people are looking for the same relief, when they have the same prayers, that's when they come together. And that's why Tucker Carlson was able to go around the country to 15 different cities selling out arenas, just talking about politics. It's the revival. And it was really It was really fantastic to see. Also, the people there were amazing. I had my wife and I, because I wasn't like back. I got a ticket. You know, I was just like everybody else. I was like, I want to go. I wrote to Don Jr.'s people, heard nothing. I wrote to Tucker's people, heard nothing. I get it. They're busy touring the country. I get it. You're busy trying to get your dad elected. I get it. I'm not mad at anybody. I went through my back channels. I tried to use what little clout I have to procure a couple of backstage passes, maybe a couple VIP seats. Failed miserably. So I did what everyone else did. I went to Ticketmaster and I got 2 tickets. And so my wife and I go and we show up and we're walking around and all of a sudden somebody goes, OMG, it's Mark Kaye. And then the floodgates opened and I felt a little bit bad because it wasn't my show, but I met so many great people there. And so many people were running up going, Mark Kaye, I'm a Katriot. And I was like, yay, let's take a picture. And I had a bunch of stickers and we were handing out stickers. And I know you're probably not supposed to, I think you're not supposed to hand out stickers in the venue. So I apologize if anyone stuck them somewhere where they weren't supposed to go. But that's all I had. I had these stickers and it was great. And I must have met like 200 people there. Just walking around, getting beers, just walking around the venue before. In fact, I ran into Wayne. I want to share. Wayne had the most awesome shirt on. Look. Oh, Wayne.
My hero.
My hero. Look at his shirt. Wayne, can I show your shirt? Yeah. Look at this. Dude, this is the best dressed guy in the whole place. Yeah, Wayne was wearing a shirt that had like multiple Donald Trump faces. And we were kind of loud. So when we started yelling, people, that's the thing. When I start yelling, people recognize my voice, so they come over. So then but it was like a party, man. It was so great. It was so much fun meeting all the Katriots, meeting people who listen to the show, meeting people who watch us, meeting Wayne. I mean, there was Robert and his son, Robert Jr., which is, that's an easy way to, thank God, because it was easy to remember. And that's what happened. That's what was going on. That's what's going on all across this country. But Don Jr. is, and Tucker Carlson said this too, it's true. He's one of the most underrated speakers and political minds in this country. And Tucker pointed out, he said, look, the thing about Don Jr. that makes him very valuable to his father and to the Republican Party is that Don Jr. understands what voters want. He doesn't tell voters what they want. He understands what they want. And once he understands that, he can then articulate it. And this comes from the business side of, look, there's 2 kinds of politicians. There's politicians and then there's non-politicians. And non-politicians make way better politicians than politicians do. Why? Because they don't work for themselves or the government. They work for the people. In marketing, they say you need to know what the best way to make money in this world is to find out what people want and then give it to them. That's how you do it. And Don Jr. understands that. So when it comes to politics, he tries to find out what people want. And then he goes to his dad and says, here's what they want. You got to give it to him. And his dad does. When JD Vance was the choice, and he said, I fought for JD Vance. He got out there and he goes, I fought for JD Vance. And everybody knew that Don Jr. was the reason his dad picked JD Vance. And JD Vance, he said, is of the people. He is one of them. He's said some things about you in the past, but he's come around and he understands and he can relate. And he wrote the book and the movie and everything else. He's everybody. And he's going to go out there and fight, and he's articulate and he's intelligent and he can be a great VP. And maybe after 4 years of tutelage, he could be the president, because we're going to need another candidate in 4 years. And so he pushed for me. He goes, I spent every ounce of political capital I have with my dad, but I knew I was right. He said, because the other people that were being bolstered by other interests were the wrong person. And when I saw who was bolstering them, the donors, the big money donors, the special interests, when I saw the people who were going to my father and saying, this is who you need as your vice president, this should be your running mate, he said, I fought even harder because I knew that those were the wrong people for the people. Those were the right people for the donors and the special interests. And luckily we got JD Vance. And you'll recount how early on in the beginning, right at the get-go, JD Vance was attacked. He was attacked on all sides. He was attacked by Democrats. He was attacked by Republicans. And now he's kind of come around and everyone realizes, oh yeah, JD Vance is awesome. Oh yeah, Jay. Even here in the, I'll be honest with you. I was watching JD Vance. I was at the convention, and JD Vance was announced. There was a lot of initial excitement. I was talking to Laura Trump. We were all excited about it. And then as the convention ended and wrapped up, and I went home, and they started talking about the childless cat lady stuff, and then they started hauling out the Trump stuff, and then I was looking around, going, "Is this what is happening? Like, why was this the right choice?" But then I saw Tim Walz. And I knew, oh yeah, we definitely got the better end. We definitely got the better end of the deal. But the one thing that Don Jr. said, and this was really cool, was he said, I remember back to 2016, 2015. Guys, almost 10 years. He said, I remember back to 2015, the escalator ride. And he said, we were all upstairs. And what happened was we all took the elevator down to the floor with the escalator. Because Trump Tower, the escalator goes down to the lobby. You take the escalator up, you get in an elevator, whatever. He's like, so we're all in the penthouse. My dad goes, are you ready? And we go, yeah. We get in the elevator. He goes, we come down. And my dad gets out with Melania, and the two of them are going to make the trip. And just before he gets on the escalator, he says, I'll never forget. He looks me right in the eye, and he goes, Don, now we find out who our real friends are. And I was just like chills because And he said, but this is the thing. He goes, he knew that people he'd known his entire life, Democrats all, were going to turn on him. He knew that business associates who he'd worked with his entire life, who he made millions and millions of dollars for, were going to cease to do business with him. He knew that his so-called friends and allies would turn on him and stab him in the back and do everything they could to ruin him. He knew that every person that didn't like what he was saying, every person he knew in his life would try to get rich or famous or both off of his name by attacking him. He knew that the media, of which he'd been a darling for his entire adulthood, Donald Trump, if you lived in New York in the 80s or in the 90s, Donald Trump everybody loved him. The media loved the guy. They wanted to party with him. They put him in Home Alone 2. I mean, come on. What other real estate developers got a cameo appearance in a Macaulay Culkin movie? None. Donald Trump was that popular. And he knew as soon as he got on that escalator and said, I'm building a wall, Mexico's going to pay for it, that all of that was going to go away. And the thing Don Jr. said was he knew that. And he did it anyway. And that just shows the kind of person he is and what he's really in it for. And that's what people don't remember. That's what people constantly forget. They think Donald Trump, he's just in it for himself. Oh, yeah? If Donald Trump were in it for himself, he never would have gone down that escalator. He would have stayed in New York, gone to the parties, been in Home Alone 3 or 9 or whatever they're on now, and forgotten all about it. Donald Trump's not in it for himself. You know who is in it for herself? Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, she's not in it to win it because the people that she talks to, and they just see. You can see through somebody. They can see through Kamala Harris. The polling for Kamala Harris is so abysmal, and it's getting worse by the day. CNN released this poll of union workers. Listen to this.
But look at where Kamala Harris is today. She's only leading by 9 points. That would be the worst Democratic performance in a generation. 10 points off the mark of Joe Biden, who of course won 4 years ago, was sort of that union guy, Union Joe, right? Won it by 19 points. She's 10 points off his mark and the worst in a generation.
I'm going to leave this up for just a minute. Let's take a look at this. 1992, Clinton. This is the union vote. Okay, this is union workers. Historic union support for Dems faces potential shift in 2024. In 1992, Bill Clinton had 30 points, plus 30 points, pardon me, of union workers. Hillary Clinton managed plus 12. All right. Biden, 19 points. The old Scranton Joe, Delaware Joe, whatever. Kamala Harris has plus 9. That is a 10-point shift from just 4 years ago. In 4 years, she's managed to evaporate 10% of the union vote. And that translates to 10% in the plus column for Donald Trump. Losing the union vote for a Democrat is not only bad for an election, but man, it should be disqualifying. It should be disqualifying. It should be a big red flag that says, hey, we got to get this woman off the ticket. Problem is, They already played that card once before. They already looked at Joe Biden, who, look, I'll be honest with you, Joe Biden probably would have done better in this poll had he stayed in the race. Joe Biden probably would have pulled some union support. Joe Biden had 19% of union workers, plus 19% of union workers on his side. Kamala Harris threw 10% of that away in just a couple of short months. Joe Biden may actually have been the better candidate. How bad a candidate do you have to be for the polls to show you that Joe Biden may have actually been the better candidate? Here's NBC talking about Hispanic voters.
We ask a basic question of Hispanic voters. Which party do you more identify with? 37% now say Republicans, 49% say Democrats. But again, look at how this has shifted in just the last dozen years. In 2012, this was a 41-point advantage for the Democrats. It has come all the way down to 12 points, Kristen, a 29-point drop in terms of that gap there on which party Hispanics identify with in just 12 years.
All right, and then let's look at that again. Now, so now it says 37% of Hispanics are Republican, 49% are Democrat. 2020, it was 23%, 54. Now, he's trying to make this a bigger deal like it's been 12 years. Look, in just 12 years. It's not 12 years. In 2020, it dropped, that was the biggest drop, 54 to 49. I mean, it is one problem that the Democrats have, and her name is Kamala Harris. Here's Jen Peppermint Psaki from MSNBC with yet another devastating. This is fun, by the way. I don't know if are you having as much fun as I am? I love going through these devastating Kamala Harris polls. If you love going through devastating Kamala Harris polls, I want you to just type a Y in the chat. Whatever chat you're on, or just type Y and hit enter. If you're having as much fun as I am going through, because I got more. We're not even done yet. There's way more devastating Kamala Harris polls yet to come. Here's Jen Peppermint Psaki on MSNBC.
Polls consistently show immigration as a major weakness for Democrats, and for Harris specifically. Like the NBC News poll this month that shows 54% of registered voters think Trump would better handle securing the border and controlling immigration, compared with 33% who said the same of Harris. She's not going to make up that whole gap between now and November.
Oh, you don't think so? She's not going to make up that gap of 21 percentage points by November? You're right. It's probably the most honest thing Jen Peppermint Psaki's ever said. But think about that. I mean, think about this. Here, I'm going to play that for you one more time because I want to get a still frame on it. Here it is.
Polls consistently show immigration as a major weakness for Democrats, and for Harris specifically. Like the NBC News poll this month that shows 54% of registered voters think Trump would better handle securing the border.
Yeah. Okay. So 54% of voters, registered voters, say Donald Trump would handle the border better than Kamala Harris. 33% say Kamala Harris. I have a question. Who the hell are these 33% of people that think Kamala Harris would be better on the border? Who are these people? Kamala Harris went to the border for the first time on Friday. Kamala Harris, who is the border czar, by the way, went to the border for the first time on Friday, and she made headlines for wearing a $62,000 Tiffany necklace. I kid you not. Was it Tiffany? It was some kind. Listen to this. Look at this. Let me get rid of this ad. Here's the headline for you. Kamala Harris, border czar Kamala Harris panned for wearing reported $62,000 necklace to southern border. Quote, "You look ridiculous." The border crisis has been an albatross around Kamala Harris's neck, and now her jewelry is too. The Democratic presidential nominee was snapped Friday at the southern border in Arizona, trying to look tough on one of her major political weaknesses as she walked near a razor wire protected fence in the town of Douglas, chatting with an agent from U.S. Border Patrol. Harris, 59, was wearing dark sunglasses, a brown jacket over a black top, and dark-colored pants, and sporting what critics claimed was a $62,000 necklace from Tiffany's. She was born to a middle-class family. She understands your plight. She was, by the way, those sunglasses ain't cheap either. I can't see the brand from here, but rest assured, she's got about $400 probably resting on her nose, $62,000 around her neck. God knows how much the rest of the outfit is. But that's what she decides to wear to the border. Dems decide to send Kamala. Oh, wait, where did it go? Dems decide to send Kamala Harris out in a $62,000 Tiffany necklace to reassure the middle class that she and the corpse we just saw wheeze through a debate have their best interests at heart. One detractor wrote on X. That's why I love X. Maybe leave the $60,000 Tiffany necklace at home when visiting the border. Another commenter quipped on the platform. Respectfully, you look ridiculous and thoroughly removed from what's right in front of your face. The photo op wasn't a total loss, though. They got a great shot of the necklace. So there you go, man. Maybe she'll get some of that Tiffany money. But, and again, I've never been to the border. I imagine if I were to go to the border, though, I would probably wear, shorts or khakis, depending on how hot it is. I know Arizona gets pretty hot. I mean, it's pretty hot all the time, except at night. I know, I would wear, I like to wear those SPF protection shirts because I'm so gosh darn white. I'm probably the palest person you've ever seen, naked or clothed. And so I get those fishing shirts that have the SPF protection factor. I love those. I wear those often on this show. I would probably wear some sunglasses. I don't know that I would wear expensive sunglasses. And then, I would make sure that I've got, like a bulletproof vest or something. Kamala Harris, however, she's like, oh, let me pack the $62,000 Tiffany necklace. And then Jen Psaki wonders why Kamala Harris is so low. 33% of people believe that she's still tougher on immigration than Donald Trump. I can't believe that. There's more, though. Listen to this. This is a representative, I forget her name. She's from Michigan. And she was on a call, and she was caught or recorded admitting that Kamala Harris is losing in Michigan.
I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan right now. We have her underwater in our polling.
Yeah, that's what's her name? I always forget. That is hold on, I have it right here. I think I can grab it. That is Representative Slotkin. Pardon me. Elisa Slotkin. And she is admitting on this call that the internal polling, which BT Dubs, sorry Keith, is the only polling you should listen to. And they actually reference that. Tucker Carlson and Donald Trump Jr. were talking about that. And Tucker Carlson said, by the way, Donald Trump's way ahead. If anybody's worried, I tell people all the time, my wife watches the news. My son watches the news. He comes to me, he goes, is Donald Trump going to lose? I go, no. And he goes, but the polls. I go, no. There's two kinds of polls. There's the polls on television and on the internet and on Twitter that are meant to convince you that Kamala Harris is really ahead and that you should vote for her because she's going to win because she's the better candidate for the job. There's those polls. But then there's the real polls, the internal polling. And the internal polling says Donald Trump's way ahead. And it says that not just in the Donald Trump campaign, it says it in the Kamala Harris campaign, and it says it in Elise Slotkin's campaign or internal polling as well in Michigan.
I'm not feeling my best right now about where we are on Kamala Harris in a place like Michigan right now. We have her underwater in our polling.
Now, I don't know if anybody's feeling their best about Kamala Harris, but let me just go quickly to 270 to win, because I want to show you what's really going on with the polls. Let me pull up the map here. All right, so as you can see right now, they've opened up a lot more of the votes, and they're still convinced that Donald Trump is not going to win North Carolina. They're still convinced that Georgia is up for grabs. They're still convinced that, can I get this Coke out of here? They're still convinced that a couple of these other states have not yet been decided. And what we're starting to see is that, for example, Elise Slotkin is saying, look, our polling shows that she's underwater, which means Donald Trump wins Michigan. All of a sudden, Donald Trump's up to 225. Donald Trump is ahead, has been ahead for a long time, and I don't think anything's going to break his lead in Pennsylvania, so we're just going to go ahead and give him that too. He's up to 244. Georgia, Donald Trump leads, and North Carolina, which was just devastated by a hurricane and is being ignored by Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. In fact, Joe Biden said, oh, North Carolina, we don't have any more relief for you. Sorry.
We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
Okay, no resources for North Carolina, which means we're going to go ahead and put that in. Oh, look at that. We're at 276 electoral votes, and you only need 270 to win. Let's just, for kicks and giggles, complete the puzzle. Let's give Kamala Harris Wisconsin, shall we? Just cause. Just let's say the cheeseheads, they got Swiss cheese in their cheddar heads. I don't know what you call it. Let's just give Wisconsin just to be nice. That still leaves Arizona and Nevada. And Arizona, I'm pretty sure, is sick and tired of Kamala Harris's border lies. And so even if she wins Nevada, which I don't think she's going to do, it's 287 to 251. That's what the internal polls are telling the Kamala Harris campaign. That's what they're telling the Donald Trump campaign. Michigan is not going to Kamala Harris. Pennsylvania is not going to Kamala Harris. North Carolina, Georgia, and I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to fix this right here. This is what you're looking at. This is what you're looking at. You're looking at 303. I do hear, by the way, that there is a main movement toward Donald Trump. I still hold out hope for New Hampshire. And I think that Virginia is in play, depending on what's going. Look, this is just me playing around, by the way. Donald Trump could come out with walk away with 323 electoral votes, which would be amazing. Also, you'll notice this is interesting. Minnesota, see how like California's dark blue and New York is dark blue and Oregon is dark blue and Illinois is dark blue. See how all that's happening? Oh, by the way, South Carolina should be red there. That's interesting to me because you'll notice that Minnesota is light blue. And Minnesota is the home of Tim Walz, who is running for president with Kamala Harris. And that you would think would put it easily in Kamala's pocket, but nothing comes easily when you're Kamala Harris. Well, I guess except getting the nomination. But that's the thing that comes easiest to Kamala Harris. Let's go to the border here quick. While we're waiting for Donald Trump's press conference, which, by the way, I'm going to be honest, probably I should just go. We're just going to go. I was going to stop and upload the podcast, but right now, Donald Trump's supposed to be speaking at 2:00, and he's speaking from Valdosta, Georgia. And I know a lot of people are saying, why isn't he going to North Carolina? Look, there's a tightrope that you walk in these situations. You want to go to places where you can be of help and aid and assistance. You don't want to go to places where you're going to be a bother. You want to go to places where you can offer some help and assistance and it's all about bringing awareness to this thing, because the awareness is not there. The media is not reporting Hurricane Helene and the victims in all of these red states the way that they should be. They're not out there. I mean, you want to think about this. If you look at North Carolina, if you look at Georgia, if you look at Tennessee, if you look at Florida, these are all red states. And you'll notice that the media is not as involved as they would be if it were like, say, New York, New Jersey, maybe even California, if there was a devastating earthquake, who knows? Even other states. So they're not getting the awareness. Donald Trump going there brings awareness to the situation. That's the first thing you need to do. You need to have a high-profile person go to this place and say, this is happening here to these people. This is how bad it is. This is what they need. And once Donald Trump lands on the ground in Valdosta, Georgia, and goes on television in Valdosta, Georgia, we're all going to see that. And that's going to shine an international spotlight on this problem. And hopefully it'll move the federal government, FEMA, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, to some kind of action. Probably not. But that's the hope. That's the desire. Also, Donald Trump's bringing some relief. He's bringing some aid. He's bringing probably water. Who knows what he's bringing? But he's going to be helping the people in Valdosta, Georgia. The tricky thing is that if you, and again, I'll be perfectly blunt with you. This was devastating through the entire Southeast. There are towns in Florida on the Gulf Coast that are gone. There are islands that every building, every piece of construction on the island wiped out, gone. Fort Myers, totally underwater. There are places that are never going to come back in Florida. And as this hurricane progressed, it did the same kind of damage in Valdosta, Georgia. It went up through South Carolina and devastated these towns and these places and these homes and these livelihoods and these lives in North Carolina and Tennessee. And the water and those dam breaking and the mudslides and the torrential downpours and the biblical flooding has destroyed everything. It is a once in a lifetime event, and it's a multi-state crisis. And Ron DeSantis, let me just props again to Ron DeSantis. Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida, and if you're governor of Florida, basically, whoever's the governor of Florida, your job is to A, be governor of Florida, and B, be like a sub-director of FEMA because of all the hurricanes and natural disasters that come through Florida. Rick Scott was famous for it. Rick Scott, he was one of the best hurricane preparedness governors I've ever seen. He would show up, and you knew it was bad when he had his blue denim shirt and his Navy hat on. Fun fact, for Halloween once, we had a Halloween party. I dressed up as Rick Scott, and I had a Navy hat, a blue shirt, and my blue jeans. And everybody knew exactly why, because plus I'm bald and white, and that also helps. But I went as Rick Scott for Halloween in the Navy hat and the blue shirt, because everybody knew that was Hurricane Rick Scott. And there were a lot of hurricanes during the 8 years we had Rick Scott, and he was there. He was there before, he was there during, and he was there after. And he did an incredible job of getting the resources where they needed to be, of reopening the state, of rebuilding. He did an incredible job. Again, a businessman. Ron DeSantis comes on in, and he's got big hurricane shoes to fill. And he's doing a fantastic job. Not only are we back to almost 100% power in Florida, we had something like 3 million people without power. We're back to 99% power back on. And the only people without power are the people that are without homes. The only people without power are the people where the entire infrastructure was destroyed by this storm. Otherwise, if you can get power, you have it here in Florida. It's so good here in Florida that Ron DeSantis is now sending airplanes and power vehicles, and he's sending masses and masses of people to North Carolina and Tennessee and Georgia and South Carolina. He's sending our resources in Florida to other states because we handled our stuff pretty gosh darn quickly, and the federal government is not offering relief. So Ron DeSantis is like, well, if Joe Biden's not going to do the job, I guess I will.
We've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet. Hadn't asked for it yet.
We've given them everything we can. Oh, really? Well, so now Florida's got to step up. This is exactly what happened during COVID. During COVID, Ron DeSantis was the first person to start thinking about other ways to handle the situation. And he did some investigating, and we have a great surgeon general here in the state of Florida, and they found out about monoclonal antibodies. The monoclonal antibodies. I think I said that right. You know the thing. And the monoclonal antibodies were an effective treatment for COVID, meaning they weren't a booster or a vaccine, or they didn't keep you from getting COVID. But if you had COVID, you could get an injection of these monoclonal antibodies, and they were like healthy cells, and they would fight the infection, and people were getting cured of COVID in hours, days. 48 hours, boom, you were back. You were COVID-free. You were back to work. You were healthy. You didn't have to worry about dying. You know, all those pesky side effects of COVID, like death. You didn't have to worry about any of that. And so the monoclonal antibodies became the big thing, and he got them all up. And he brought them to Florida, and he set up all these different centers. And if you had COVID, you could go in and you could get an injection, and man, Florida was bouncing back. And we were opening our schools, opening our businesses. Kids were playing flag football again. They were playing Little League baseball, Pee Wee, all that great stuff. Life was good here in Florida. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden heard about the monoclonal antibodies, and he said, oh, the federal government should probably be in charge of those. They shouldn't just be all in Florida. So he stopped Ron DeSantis from being the monoclonal antibody kingpin. He took him up to the federal level, and nobody ever heard about them ever again. It all became about the booster. Now it's happening all over. There's no funding for these hurricane victims. There's nothing. I don't have any more resources. No, we're done. We've set aside a bunch, and that's all. So now Florida's got to step up. Other states have to step up. Donald Trump is not an elected official. Donald Trump is not president. Donald Trump is private citizen President Trump. I know it's confusing because he goes by president, but he's private citizen Donald Trump. He's a guy without a job who owns some golf courses and a winery and a bunch of apartment buildings and office complexes. And he's going to where the crisis is, and he is going to show the people that he cares, that the government cares, or that that there are people out there care, and that they've not been forgotten. And he's going to do what he can. Imagine if private citizen Donald Trump could go into Valdosta, Georgia, could go into Tennessee, could go into Appalachia, could go into Boone, could go into Hendersonville, could go into Asheville, North Carolina, where there are no bridges, where people are stranded. They can't get them food. They can't get them water. There's no electricity. There's no cell phone service. The only way in or out is to fly, and there's limited resources when it comes to helicopters and whatnot. Imagine if Donald Trump, with the weight and power and the purse of the federal government of the United States, went into a disaster area like that. And he wasn't private citizen Donald Trump. He was Donald Trump, president of the United States, with the armed forces and FEMA and billions of dollars at his disposal. You don't have to think about it because it happened before. It happened during COVID. I don't know if COVID's a great example, by the way, of Donald Trump's ability to act and react and help. Because Donald Trump during COVID did things that people said were impossible. There was a massive COVID response in New York. There were a lot of people, and you may remember the death and the devastation. You may remember the hospitals overflowing. And Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, called up the federal government, aka Donald Trump, and said, we need help. We need hospital ships. We need whatever you can do. And Donald Trump called the Navy and said, do you have a hospital ship? And they said, yeah. He said, get it up there. And they said, it'll take 2 weeks. He said, you have 2 days. And Donald Trump in 2 days had a hospital ship up there. Andrew Cuomo couldn't believe his eyes. He got on television and said, thank you to Donald Trump. It's amazing what he did. Rachel Maddow was on MSNBC lying and screaming about how Donald Trump could never get this ship and it was too little too late. Meanwhile, it shows up there and it was not even used fully because Donald Trump was able to get them everything else they needed, the ventilators, the supplies. California, Governor Newsom, he went on television and said, I got to hand it to Donald Trump. We needed ventilators. Donald Trump called me and said, what do you need? I said, I need ventilators, and he sent them. He got us what we needed when we needed it. If Donald Trump were president, these people in Asheville would be saved. The roads would be being rebuilt as we speak. There'd be the cell phone connection. There'd be food going in. There'd be water. While we wouldn't be able to do anything about the lives lost, we'd be able to make those people who are still there, give them a life worth living. That's what would happen if Donald Trump were president. He's not. He's going to be very, very soon. Hopefully. Someone's saying he's already on TV. Hang on. Let me pull up. I lost track of time. It's 1:30. He's going to make remarks at 2. Hang on. Here we go. Oh, here we go. Let me turn this down. Let me pull this up. So here we are. Donald Trump right now. There he is. All right. It looks like he got off the plane. Oh, look. He's got these new little graphics on how many murderers and rapists and convicts have been let into the country under Kamala Harris. That's handy to know. That's handy to know. All right, so let's watch. Oh, Samaritan's Purse. By the way, a lot of people ask about where you can give money, and Samaritan's Purse, I know for a fact, is it's a pretty decent organization. All right, he's standing. Let's see what he says.
Being responsive, the federal government is not being responsive. They're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone. He won't get on, and of course the vice president, she's out someplace campaigning, looking for money. So they have to be focused over here. So this is a really bad one, and the governor's doing a good job, but he's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. They're being very non-responsive. We're also going to be we're talking with North Carolina. We're trying to get them hooked up with communication. They're totally closed right now. North Carolina has really been hit hard. Really, really been hit hard. The hardest. I mean, we can't even get in there right now. And there are a lot of people that have been injured or worse. Very bad. North Carolina. We're working with the people in North Carolina now to get them hooked up for communication.
All right, so it looks like... Oh, what am I on here? Oh, I'm on Barry Cunningham. That's what I was watching. So it looks like that was earlier today. Let me go to Donald Trump's. Let me go to Donald Trump's page here real quick because he should be. Where is it? Here it is. I know I'm subscribed. Let's go. Oh, here we go.
They're not being responsive. The federal government.
That's what we just saw. Let's see if there's live feed. Here it is. Okay, so this is coming up in 24 minutes. So in 24 minutes, let's watch that again real quick. I want to see this one more time.
Sorry to keep.
That's not it. That's an old one. Here we go.
They're not being responsive. The federal government is not being responsive. But they're having a very hard time getting the president on the phone. He won't get on, and of course the vice president, she's out someplace campaigning,
all right,
looking for money. So they have to be focused over here. It's too big. This is a really bad one, and the governor's doing a good job, but he's having a hard time getting the president on the phone. They're being very non-responsive.
Yeah.
We're also going to be going or talking with North Carolina. We're trying to get them hooked up with communication. They're totally closed right now. North Carolina has really been hit hard.
Yeah.
Really, really been hit hard. The hardest. And we can't even get in there right now. And there are a lot of people that have been injured or worse. Very bad. North Carolina. We're working with the people in North Carolina now to get them hooked up for communication. And in the meantime, we're at Valdosta, and we're with the mayor and Congressman and everybody else. We've brought a lot of supplies. We're with Franklin Graham, who's been always fantastic in these cases. Nobody better. He does with Samaritan's Purse. He's done an unbelievable job.
Yeah.
And how is it going, Greg?
All right, it's tough to hear. So Samaritan's Purse, by the way, yeah, a lot of people are saying, hey, what's the best place to give the money? I don't necessarily want to do the hold on. I want to go to the live. 1 second. I want to have it set up. Here we go. So we're going to be set up for the live here in about 22 minutes. President Trump is going to go live, and we'll bring that to you. But he said, look, I want to make sure that I'm given to the right organization. Samaritan's Purse is a great one. It's Franklin Graham, of the not of the Lindsey Graham family. We want to make sure people go, Franklin Graham, is he? No, that's the Reverend Billy Graham is who that's the one you're thinking of. And that's what people say. They're like, why isn't Donald Trump going to North Carolina? North Carolina, there's no communication. There's no phones, there's no roads. You can't set up an event. You can't call in there and say, hey, Donald Trump wants to come and bring supplies. You can't say, hey, Donald Trump's coming, we need to secure the area. It's not possible right now. It's not feasible. But he said, look, we're working on, the first step is communication. You need to figure out how to get in touch with these people, and you need to figure out what they need. I told you, I texted my friend Tori the other day, and I was like, hey, I wanted to know about how you guys are doing. Haven't heard back. And it may be that there's no cell phone service. It may be that there's no communications whatsoever. It may be that there's no electricity and they can't charge their cell phones. That's how devastating it is. They've been knocked back to the Stone Age. So Donald Trump saying we're here in Valdosta because we can work with the governor. We've been on the phone with the governor. You heard what he said. He said the governor's on the phone with the White House, can't get him on the phone. Think about that. Georgia, which is a very important state politically for the Democrats. Georgia, which is represented in the Senate by not one, but two Democrats. Georgia, whose governor has called out Donald Trump on multiple occasions and who has spoken positively about Joe Biden. Georgia can't get him on the phone. Can't get any help for the victims of this hurricane. And that is just a travesty. So Donald Trump says, we're here in Georgia. You can get me on the phone. You don't even have to call me. I'm just going to come. I'm going to bring Franklin Graham, and we're going to hang out, and we're going to help some people. And as soon as we get the communication up in North Carolina, as soon as we get in touch with those folks, we're gonna head there. We're not going to stop because that's what leaders do. And we'll bring you those comments here in about 20 minutes. Maggie Moore, thank you so much for the $10 super chat on YouTube. We really do appreciate that. And we have the ability to bring those to you live on our live stream, which again, I'm really excited about. If you wanted to leave us, we did get a couple of Rumble rants earlier. Again, we're not able to pipe those in as we are with the super chats, but we were talking the other day and people were saying, hey, I came up with the idea of, what was it, the super chat stage or something like that. Somebody came up with the super chat showcase. So maybe we'll make a little Maybe we'll do that. We'll make a little like graphic down here, and this will be the super chat showcase. So if you want anything showcased, it could be your name, it could be a greeting, it could be a question, anything at all that you want to share with us, anything you want to say, send it via super chat, and we'll put it up on the super chat showcase. And we'll do that, during the live broadcast, but also especially while we're live streaming this event with Donald Trump. We'll do it especially when we're live streaming tomorrow night at 8:30 for the debate. We're going to go 8:30 to 10:30. It'll be a 2-hour special edition of Mark Kaye Saves the Republic. And what we're going to do is we'll do 30 minutes of prep. We'll prepare you a little bit for the debate, and then we'll go live at 9 o'clock, and I'll sit back in the corner. It'll be just like this, only instead of Donald Trump right there, you'll see JD Vance, Tim Walz, Nora O'Donnell, and Margaret Brennan. And we'll fact check live, and we'll make sure everything's on the up and up. I may even make myself a little smaller, and I'll make the screen a little bit bigger. Maybe I'll make the screen I'll put myself in the corner real small, but we'll have the super chat showcase up. Wow, Wayne Carmichael. Wayne with the cute little puppy wearing wearing like baby clothes. Wayne, thank you so much for the generosity. Another super chat from Wayne Carmichael. We appreciate that very, very much. We really, really do. And again, look, and there's a lot of different ways, by the way, that you can support this show. Just watching this show is a great way to support it. Just watching this show is a great way to support it because, just growing it, if you can share it with your friends and family, if you can share it on whatever platform, if everybody right now shares this show, you're going to do a couple of things. First of all, you're going to introduce what you think is a great broadcast, I assume, because you're listening to it, you're watching it, you're taking this broadcast in. I imagine you like it. Otherwise, why would you be here? So share this with people that are like-minded, share it with your friends and family, and they're going to love that you introduce them to it. Also, you're going to help us grow. And if everybody right now shared this on one platform, whether it's Facebook, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Rumble, if you're listening to the podcast, it's easy to copy the podcast link. And you know what I do when I hear like a good podcast? I have my friend groups. Okay, that's a lie. I have my wife and kids. Because those are I have 2 friend groups. One is my wife and kids, and the other one is Hannah. But I just send it to them. I go, here, you're gonna love this podcast. If I see a funny tweet or a meme, I clip it and I send it to them and I go, oh my gosh, you're gonna love this. And all of a sudden I've taken one view, I've turned it into 4. And that really helps everybody grow. So that's another way to do it. And then finally, the third way is to, whenever we have a special offer, whether it's a piece of merchandise or a new book, like my brand new book, Cancel Proof, my proven strategy for conservatives to thrive online. Whenever we have something brand new like this and offering to you, first of all, we make it super affordable. And this is probably one of the best offers we've ever come up with. It's my brand new book. It's the story of how I've been canceled. It's the exact strategy I use to run my 7-figure online business without getting canceled as a conservative. And if you're a conservative online, you have been canceled before, or you will be canceled in the future. You may not even know it. You may be getting shadow banned. I hear people all the time saying, I've been put into jail, Facebook jail. I've been demonetized on this platform. They shut down my account. I can't use TikTok anymore because they just deleted me and all of my followers. Listen, I've been there. I am on my fourth TikTok account. I think this is my 2nd or 3rd YouTube channel. You can still find old YouTube channels of mine, but they don't work. They're demonetized. They're not. This is the one that you want to be on. I'm on my Facebook. I mean, forget about it. I've been through the ringer with Facebook 1,000 times, and I finally took all the information I've learned about being canceled by social media. I've been canceled by big media. I was canceled by an entire radio company. Had my show taken off the air like that, simply for being conservative. Too conservative for them, apparently. TV, same thing. I was made an international supervillain for creating an AI image of Donald Trump at a Christmas party with black voters. The BBC dragged my name through the mud. And that one I kind of liked. I kind of liked being called an AI propagandist. It was actually kind of cool. I'm putting that on my resume. But this is it. This is the whole story of how I run my business, how I'm able to be a conservative, how I've navigated all of the different parts of social media. And what I did was I wrote it all down in this brand new book. And it's yours you can instantly access it. You can get it within minutes. And I've also recorded an audiobook because a lot of people say, you know what, Mark, I just don't like to read. And I go, I get it. I don't like to read either. Love to write, hate to read. So I recorded an audiobook. And right now, when you take advantage of the pre-launch offer, which is happening right now, you'll get the ebook and the audiobook. That's 2 books for the price of 1. And even, you know, when I sell a book for around $24. And now you're going to get two of them. You're going to get the ebook and the audiobook for the same price of one book, $24. And it's going to be instantly, there's no shipping and handling. That's the other thing too. That was the other thing. People always say, Mark, okay, I bought your book, then I had to pay taxes, then I had to pay shipping. There's no shipping on this. It's $24. You're charged $24 and you get two books delivered instantly. You can be reading it here in just a little while. The website is markk.com/cancel. markk.com/cancel. And I would go there right now and take advantage of this before the pre-launch offer ends. Because look, you're going to be helping yourself. Okay. You're going to learn my secrets and my strategies to be on social media as a conservative and not get canceled. And then the other exciting thing is you're going to be helping us bring you more great shows like this, more great content, more great books, more great products, and more opportunities to interact during Donald Trump's press conference and also during other fun events, like, for example, tomorrow's vice presidential debate. All right, we have a little bit of time here before Donald Trump starts, so let's get back to Kamala Harris and the border. Let me take a sip of my coffee quickly. That is so delicious. Donald Trump has been to the border, I don't even know how many times. Donald Trump built the border wall. Donald Trump put stay in Mexico. We know Donald Trump is the stronger border. I mean, you really want to talk about a border czar, it's Donald Trump. But for whatever reason, Kamala Harris and her internal polling tell her now, after 3.5 years in the White House, now, after 3.5 years of being the border czar, now is the time that she should probably take the border seriously. So on Friday, guess where she went? The border. And guess who didn't care? Anybody?
We have the vice president coming in today. Why do you think she's here?
Because she's the flip-flopper, and she's trying to get some votes at the last minute. Where was she 3.5, 4 years ago?
How do you feel about Vice President Kamala Harris's visit here today?
I'd like to be over in her face.
What would you tell her?
I'd say, it's about time you visited the border. Let me show you what it's really like.
It's all publicity. It's kind of like she's here. She doesn't care. She just cares about winning.
Why do you think she's here?
Politics, of course.
So you're not being fooled?
No, absolutely not. I mean, she's had, 3.5, 4 years to do something of some consequences and hasn't done anything. And I don't think she's going to do anything but carry on another word salad, I guess.
They're going to do anything but carry on another word salad. That's exactly right. So that's what people at the border think about Kamala Harris visiting the border. They're not fooled. They don't buy it. They've been living there. I mean, think about this. If you've been living with this crisis, with immigrants walking through your backyard in the middle of the night, traipsing through your front yard in the middle of the day, stealing stuff, for stealing clothes, stealing tools, stealing whatever. There's so many reports of ranchers on the border and homeowners that wake up to illegal sleeping on their property. I mean, it's insane what's going on. And it's not just Mexican immigrants. It's not just El Salvadorans. It's not just Venezuelans. It's immigrants from Asia, from the Middle East, from Russia, from all over. They're all coming through the wide open Mexican border. And these people have been living with it for years. For years. They know it's bad. It's been bad. Now, all of a sudden, Kamala Harris comes in. It's laughable. It's obscene. It's insulting. And it's stupid. Donald Trump may have actually been right.
Joe Biden became mentally impaired. Kamala was born that way.
Yeah. But that wasn't it. The Border Patrol agents are also not even just disgusted. They're infuriated with Kamala Harris and this show of force she made at the border on Friday.
Look, I stood with President Trump when he actually went to the border, to areas that is, notorious for drug smuggling and human smuggling. He stood there. He spoke to the agents. He's been speaking to the boots on the ground for over 8 years. He's spoken to them, asking what's going on. He's gone through the National Border Patrol Council numerous times. He stood there for over an hour in over 100-degree heat with victims of families from illegal aliens, and he spoke to reporters.
From ICE today.
Vice President President Harris went down there and she spoke to 2 members of management. She didn't speak to agents. She spoke to 2 members of management. And I'm going to tell you, I bet money that even those 2 members, I feel bad for them because I guarantee you they didn't even want to be there. But she spoke to these 2 members of management and she was there for 20 minutes for a photo op. That's all she did. President Trump actually cares, and he's actually gone down there and met with boots on the ground, and he's done it multiple times for long times at all, every single time he's been there. This is just nothing but a complete photo op. That's all it is. It's her Hail Mary before the election.
Yeah, so there you go. It's her Hail Mary right before the election, and everybody sees right through it. Oh, let's pull up Donald Trump here for just a second. It looks like they went live a little early, and we'll see. Oh, there's no audio coming through yet. All right, so there's no audio coming through yet, but it looks like Donald Trump came on a little early. He's talking to some people. He's probably obviously talking to the folks that live there, but we'll leave that up for right now. By the way, something I wanted to point out, I don't know if you can see this. Let me show this real quick here. Hold on, where is this? Schedule. Okay, I guess, yeah, we're watching the right one. Anyway, so Donald Trump is in Valdosta, Georgia. And for those who are unfamiliar with it, Valdosta, Georgia was hit very hard. The flooding in Valdosta was devastating. The buildings underground, underwater rather, just like you saw in North Carolina and Tennessee and the worst, hardest hit areas, just like in Florida. This hurricane, because of the amount of rain and because of where it hit, it caused... I mean, that's the thing. If it rains, a lot in a place where there's no rivers or estuaries or other standing water or dams, then, yes, there'll be damage. But it's the way that it floods the existing waterways and the existing rivers and the existing dams and the existing lakes and the existing retention ponds. That's what really creates the issues and the problems, because that water goes somewhere. And what happened in North Carolina was that you had the water come racing down the mountain. And in North Carolina, in Tennessee, in these places, the people live in the valleys. They live not on the mountain. They live in the lower parts. And when the water comes down, when the mud comes down, it destroys everything. In Valdosta, you had these flat lands again, where the flooding came in and destroyed all of the buildings. I mean, water is the most destructive force that we have. And water we've seen the houses floating around. We've seen the houses that have been, have fallen into the ocean. You've seen all of these things. And that's one of the biggest issues you have anytime there's a massive amount of rain. So Donald Trump is going to Valdosta, Georgia today, while they're still, like we said, repairing the communication sources in North Carolina, while they're still repairing the communication sources in Tennessee. You can't bring in the cavalry. You can't bring in supplies. You can't bring in a tractor trailer. And that's there's no roads. I mean, really, Asheville, North Carolina, home of the Biltmore House, a tourist utopia, a beautiful place, by the way. Here's what it looks like today. Wait, hold on. Where is it? Here it is. This is it today. This is what it looks like. Drone footage. People are they're the cars, and they were washed away into trees. The water's receding for the first time, and so now people are seeing what's been going on. But the water was up to the roof lines on these restaurants. The water was up to the roof lines on the homes. Everything that you see, all this stuff was filled with water. That's why these things were collapsing. That's why the foundations were coming down. The wood, the debris that floats, because, water picks up all of this debris and it just floats it down, down, down. And the farther down you are, the more debris hits your restaurant, hits your business, hits your home, hits your establishment. First Watch, totally destroyed. Entire strip malls, totally destroyed. If you think about your town, like I said earlier, if you think about where you are, oh, I hear them. They're getting set up. If you think about where you are, if you think about where you live, I mean, your strip mall, probably you're there God knows how many times. How many places in that strip mall do you visit on a weekly basis? Whether it's a drugstore, whether it's your favorite restaurant, a Smoothie King, your gym, it's all gone. All right, so Donald Trump, it looks like they're about ready. They're lining everybody up. Hopefully they all know they're on camera. Donald Trump's got his dossier in his hat. All right, he's walking up. He's looking at some of the bricks. He's looking at the devastation, and he's walking up to the podium now.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and it's an honor. And Thank you to all of those great people at Samaritan's Purse who do. We've seen you at many different sites over the years, and you do a fantastic job in Franklin. The job that Franklin, who's right here, does, Franklin Graham. We appreciate it. We have, I think I can just go through the list. We have so many people from the state and from the area. We'll start off with Franklin Graham, President, Samaritan's Purse. Thank you very much. Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, Burt Jones. Thank you, Burt. Tyler Harper, we all know. Mike Collins, we all know. Congressman, and Austin Scott, great congressman, two incredible patriots. Kelly Loeffler, former U.S. Senator, highly respected person. Everybody loves her. Ross Goodman, State Senator. Sam Watson, State Senator. Thank you, Sam. John Corbett, State Senator. John Burchett, State Representative, as you know. John LaHood, State Representative. Ashley Polk, that's County Sheriff. Very good. Thank you, Ashley. Chase Daughtry, Cook County Judge, respected, so respected. Doug Hank, Cook County Sheriff. Ashley Ty, we know. Paige Dukes, we know. Richard Hardy, City Manager, Valdosta. Thank you. Where is Rich? Yes, thank you. Scott James, Bill Slaughter, Buddy Duke, Patrick and Kate Watson, the owners of the store. We just spoke, and I said I would have bought some furniture if you had some in there, but I always look for furniture, and they have beautiful stuff, but they're going to be rebuilt in a very, very short period, so I want to thank everybody. And we came down with truckloads of things, and we're going to have that done by Franklin's incredible organization. They've done such a good job. We've done this before, but we have a lot of truckloads of different items, from oil to water to all sorts of equipment that's going to help them. But we're here today to stand in complete solidarity with the people of Georgia and with all of those suffering in the terrible aftermath of Hurricane Helene. Hurricane Helene turned out to be a big one, like just about the biggest that anyone's seen. I spoke with all of the relief people, all of the people that do this for a living and do this at least to help, and they said they've never seen one this bad. Valdosta has been ravaged. The town is very, very badly hurting, and many thousands are without power. They're running low on food and fuel. We brought a lot of it down with us. It's going to be distributed now or soon throughout Georgia, as well as North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Virginia, Alabama, and Tennessee. That's our big one. And the devastation wrought by this storm is incredible. It's so extensive. Nobody thought this would be happening, especially now it's so late in the season for the hurricanes. Homes, hospitals, highways, and cars have been plunged underwater. Entire neighborhoods have been turned into lakes. Nobody's seen anything like it. And to every family that's been displaced here in Georgia and North Carolina, which has really been hit, we were going there also, and they don't have communication. They don't have anything right now. We're trying to. I just spoke to Elon. I'm getting him. We want to get Starlink hooked up because they have no communication whatsoever. And Elon will always come through. We know that. And so we're working on that, getting them hooked up. They asked me whether or not that would be possible. We're going to try and get the Starlink in there as soon as possible.
Let's go, Elon.
No communication.
Get it up.
And throughout the region, our hearts are with you, and we are going to be with you as long as you need. It's called an hour of need. You're in our prayers, and we pray to God. And throughout this the long weeks that lay ahead, you're going to have a lot of work, but the end result is it's going to be good. We just wish so many people weren't so badly hurt, and in many cases, sadly, no longer with us. We love you. We love everyone. Everyone. I mean, to be honest, we love everyone. And we'll be back, and we'll be back again soon. And we'll continue to help until you're bigger. I say bigger, better, stronger than ever before. But again, you can't ever discount the fact that people are lost. A lot of people have been lost in this terrible storm, this terrible hurricane. It's a storm that's also taken the lives of, I guess they have a count of 91, but that count changes on an hourly basis, and it goes only in one direction, unfortunately, up, but at least 91 people already. And to the families and loved ones of those who have perished, we mourn alongside of you, and we grieve every single life so tragically lost. I'd like to now ask for a moment of silence and prayer, if you would, for those who have died. Thank you. Thank you very much. As you know, our country is in the final weeks of a hard-fought national election. But in a time like this, when a crisis hits, when our fellow citizens cry out in need, none of that matters. We're not talking about politics now. We have to all get together and get this solved. We need a lot of help. They have to have a lot of help down here. We look out for one another. We pull together. We pitch in. We persevere, and we pull it through. That is really the American spirit. That's what made America originally great. And that's why today I've come to Valdosta with large semi-trucks, many of them, filled with relief aid, and a tanker truck filled up with gasoline. We have a couple of the big tanker trucks filled up with gasoline, which they can't get now.
For the generators.
And we'll be working to distribute it throughout the day. And I want to thank again Franklin
I know
Graham,
you guys know. I'm just saying.
And everyone at Samaritan's Purse. You people are fantastic, by the way. Just and people appreciate you very much.
Yay, Franklin Graham.
For the incredible partnering and work that they've done,
Samaritan's
not
Purse.
only here, but all the time. They always seem to be the first ones at areas that need help. A short time ago, I received a briefing on the situation here in Valdosta from FEMA and the National Guard, as well as a number of state and local officials, quite a few of them. It's amazing the way it's just all been pulled together. Really amazing. I want to thank Mayor Scott James, Valdosta, where is Scott? Where is Scott? Hey, Scott. Thank you very much. Really great. Really great job. I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones and Agricultural Commissioner Tyler Harper, representatives, as I said before, Austin Scott and Mike Collins, and all of the others present. I also want to thank Governor Brian Kemp, who's working around the clock to get this problem solved. He's working hard around the clock. We also have a salute to the incredible first responders, law enforcement heroes, and they are heroes, doctors, nurses, firefighters, Coast Guard, National Guard, who have been serving with such extraordinary grace, and the work is incredible. Nobody thought they'd see something like this. You're the best. You are truly the best of America, and you're appreciated by America. Sometimes you don't feel that way, but you're very much appreciated by America. And I know each and every one of you is giving to this community of everything you have. You're doing things that you wouldn't normally even think about doing. The people on the ground are doing the best they can in every challenging circumstances. We do need some help from the federal government. They have to get together, ideally with the governor. The governor needs to, he's been trying to get them, and I'm sure they're going to come through. But he's been calling the president, hasn't been able to get him. But they'll come through, I'm sure. And Georgia and North Carolina need the help probably worst of all, but North Carolina has really been hit. They have really been hit. They say nobody's seen anything like that at all. Every part of these communities has been affected by this brutal storm, and countless Georgia cotton and pecan farmers. The farmers have been affected, Kelly, very, very badly, very, very badly. And I love those farmers, and we're going to take care of the farmers. There's no question about it. Their crops and their livelihoods have been so badly affected. Swift actions needed to get the farmers access to loans and disaster recovery aid to help them quickly get back on their feet so they can help our nation prosper. I always support our great farmers and agricultural communities, and just go out. I know that the help is going to be there, and help will soon be on its way. There's no question about that. With the path to full and complete recovery, we will work very hard. It won't be easy because this one is so bad, but we know our in our hearts, God is with us. God is strongly with us, and that the American people are stronger than any challenge that stands in our way. We have a lot of challenges in this country, more than we should have, frankly. But the American people are very strong and very smart. Working together, we'll overcome these hardships. We'll endure. We will rebuild Valdosta and every other town that has been so badly hit, and we'll emerge stronger and more united and more prosperous than ever before. You're going to be stronger, better. You're going to learn a lot from it. And again, we pray to God for those that have been so badly injured, and for, in particular, for the people that are no longer with us. And God bless everybody. And Franklin, I want to thank you very much for your being here so quickly, very, very quickly, always very early. And Franklin, maybe I could ask you to say a few words. Franklin Graham, thank you.
All right, so Franklin Graham from
thank you, Mr. President.
Samaritan's Purse is going to speak.
This building behind us represents hundreds of thousands of people that have lost homes, businesses, friends, loved ones. And it's going to take an army of volunteers and people to respond. And of course, at Samaritan's Purse, we want to respond always in Jesus' name. And we want people to know that God loves them, that God cares for them. Sometimes when a storm like this comes, people think, well, maybe God is mad at us. Maybe this is his judgment. No, God loves us. How do I know that? Because the Bible tells us that God loves us and cares for us. And yes, there are storms in life, but God will take us through those storms if we put our faith and trust in his Son, Jesus Christ. Thank you, Mr. President, for coming and helping to put a spotlight on this city, this state, in this region that has lost so much. Thank you. May God bless you, Mr. President.
And that's exactly what it is, putting a spotlight. That's why you go, because so many people are ignoring the problem. So many people are ignoring Valdosta, Georgia, and these other places. And by putting a spotlight on it, by forcing the media to go there.
I've been asked if I would lead in a prayer.
Oh, we're going to pray. Hold on.
Our Father and our God, we come today to say thank you for these men and women who are here as volunteers. Thank you for the president who has taken time to come and to see it for himself, to shake hands, to encourage, and to smile in the faces of people that have been hurt and devastated by this storm. Father, we ask for help. Father, we pray that as we come to this election, that your will be done. And so, Father, we pray for the president, strengthen him, protect him. Father, we thank you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray this prayer. Amen. Thank you.
All right. Good prayer. Good prayer. Yay, Jesus. All right. I believe that might be it. Let's see what they're going to do. Some handshaking. They're going to do some photo. Oh, there's Kelly Loeffler. Remember when she was senator for like a hot minute and then she wasn't because of Doug Collins? You know, that's a whole other story for another day. All right. So it looks like that was Donald Trump's remarks. He just said a few brief words, and he, like they said, he put the spotlight on the problem, and now the rebuilding can begin. Yeah, it looks like they're done. So let me pull this up real quick. This is Samaritan's Purse, by the way. And I know that there's some organizations that people like to give to and some organizations people don't like to give to. And I know that sometimes you give money and you're like, well, I gave $1, but only, I didn't mean to play that. I gave $1, but only a few cents of my dollar actually went to the charity. And like, for example, when we do our poker tournament every year, which is coming up, we work with a fantastic organization. And whenever it's Dreams Come True of Jacksonville, by the way. And when you give $1, they take 10 cents for administrative purposes, and 90% goes to whatever it is, or 91, I think it is even, goes to the actual charity, goes to the people that you think you're donating to. That's not always the case. Some charities, as little as 20% goes to the actual charity, and some of them, unfortunately, it's none of them. But Samaritan's Purse is a good one. And they've got the response already up at SamaritansPurse.org. Respond to Helene. You can give money. You can volunteer. You can learn more. You can see they've got the trucks already coming. They've already got the people that are ready to go. They've got the video that shows you the devastation, which I'll play. I'm not going to play the audio because it echoes off of the iPad, but there, I mean, you can see. Oh, I don't know what I just did something. There you go. Edward. So the whole Graham family is involved in all of this. And, you know, North Carolina is where Franklin Graham's from North Carolina. Billy Graham crusade began in North Carolina. And so it's near and dear to their hearts. They're going to make sure that all these people are taken care of, and they're going to make sure that they rebuild, and they're going to make sure that they do whatever they can. So if you want to help them out, if you want to do some relief, Samaritan's Purse is where I would go. In fact, I probably will go. As soon as we're done with this broadcast, I'll go make a donation of my own, and I would urge you to as well. All right, so look, they're all wrapped up over there at in Valdosta. They're gonna take some photos and stuff like that. We have tomorrow a very, very exciting thing going on, the vice presidential debate. Now I know what you're thinking. Are vice presidential debates really exciting? This one will be. This vice presidential debate tomorrow is going to be really good. It's not going to be the fly on the head Kamala Harris versus Mike Pence, although maybe it will be. It's not going to be the boring Dan Quayle, what's his name, Lloyd Benson. It's not going to be one of those. This is going to be an exciting debate. JD Vance is an expert speaker. He knows policy. He knows how to articulate policy. He understands how to handle the media, and he's quick on his feet. Tim Walz, you're going to see a different Tim Walz. It's not going to be the flamboyant weirdo tampon Tim. He's going to show up as a politician and a debater, and it's going to be interesting to see how he handles the situation. And then, of course, you've always got this unknown quantity in the moderators. Are they going to be the second person that JD Vance has to debate, or are they actually going to moderate, which is what you're supposed to do? We're going to find out all that tomorrow. In the meantime, thank you again for everybody who joined us. If you've been waiting till the end of the broadcast to go and get your copy of Cancel Proof, guess what? We've now come to the end of the broadcast. So you're not going to miss anything. Go to markk.com/cancel. markk.com/cancel. There, I've put the website address, the link in the YouTube and the Rumble description, so you can just click on that. You can instantly access my brand new book, Stories About Getting Canceled Online from the Media, and my strategy, my proven strategy to help you and any other conservative, whether you have an online business, whether you meet clients online for business, whether you just are online for fun. And you want to make sure that you're protecting yourself and your family and your finances and your future from getting canceled by the cancel-happy woke folk. This is the book that's going to show you how to do it. Cancel Proof, my proven social media strategy for conservatives to thrive online. Go to markk.com/cancel. In the meantime, thank you so much. I know it's been a lot. It's been an extended version of Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, but it's been worth it. And we covered a lot of stuff from over the weekend. We covered the Donald Trump appearance in Valdosta, Georgia. We're just getting started. We've still got over a month left until the election. We've still got so much to cover. We've still got so much news to bring you. There is going to be, in fact, I was talking to my wife yesterday, and now that we're into like the final 30 days, like with September 30th, tomorrow's October, it's a run to the finish line. I may just go live every day. It may be important enough because we've got people we've got to sway. We've got votes. We've got to go out there. Early voting is a thing. We've got to keep people inspired and enlightened and informed. So I may just go live every single day between now. I may just say frack it and go live every day between now and the election. That may be a thing that we do. So whatever you do, don't miss a minute of what we bring you, because we bring it to you not for us, but for you. We want to keep you informed. We want to keep you enlightened. We want to keep you inspired. And of course, as always, we want to keep you entertained. And we want to grow this movement as big as we possibly can. Because with a bigger movement, with more Catriots, with a larger army, with more people joining the fight, we can and we will very soon save the Republic.